I want to talk about Westside Collector Car Storage because I
big
was
things are
there.
happening.
I was there for all of the, you know what I
Big
mean? The
things are
first one I
happening.
was there from the moment it was a structure to what it is now. And I just because I was there every day, I
Yeah.
felt like a part of that process. I feel like so outside on this one. What's going on?
So unfortunately, the weather has caused a little bit of a delay, but we do have a second location. It's funny because Westside Collector Car Storage, for those that don't know, is a high end. It's really, I hate thinking that it's a car storage facility. It's really a concierge facility. You know, Matt had this vision of creating something so that the people that are in a position to enjoy a lot of these high-end cars, or really any collector cars, and we've got all kinds of stuff there, but to be able to enjoy the time they spend with the cars, and that's really the idea behind it.
Yep.
A lot of times, you either are limited to space, so you can only have one or two cars, where a lot of us as car people are crazy and we like to have a selection of things. You don't have just one pair of sneakers, right? And it goes back to my theory where, having cars is not transportation. It's an experience, and every experience is different. There's a whole big thing that we can talk about a whole nother time. But Matt understood that because he was one of those people. And like he was spending so much, he had all these cars, but he was spending so much time having to do things for each car. He didn't get to enjoy them so much. So he had this idea of, not just creating a storage facility, but creating a community and a facility where, he could help everybody and spend more time enjoying their cars.
Mm-hmm.
So having your car there, the staff there basically does everything for you that you wouldn't necessarily have time for. And it could be a matter of you're out of town because you live somewhere else, but you want to keep your car here. You fly in because the roads here are amazing. So maybe you live in, Texas or Oklahoma, where maybe not the most enjoyable of all drives, and we have all the canyons here that are amazing. We have customers that will fly in on a Friday morning. We have pick up from the airport there, bring them back to the facility, their car's washed. If you want us to put gas in it, we check the tires, everything gets inspected. They go through there. The guys at the shop are amazing. Like if your tires are old, they call and let you know. If your registration is getting ready to be expired, they'll let you know so that you can handle everything. That when you get there, we hand you the keys, go enjoy your car.
I've seen a handful of these drop-offs where people, they get picked up at the airport, they come over, they get their cup of coffee, and then they go. It feels like a new car delivery, even though it's their car.
Every time, their car. Yeah, every time.
And they said
the
that.
idea.
They said that.
Matt's got guys that will come on site and change tires. He's got guys that will come on site and do tint or
the paint guy, the paint dentless, and all the
dentless paint. If you nick your wheel up he really there's very, very little that he won't do. I mean, we've got cars there that the guys are, exercise. Every car there stays on a charger. Every car there gets started up and brought up to operating temperature once a month. Certain cars get driven because the older cars, the drivetrains actually need to be brought up and used a little bit. So we do everything that we can do. And if we see a car, if we're moving a car and there's an oil drip, we'll check it out. We have relationships with all of the different dealerships. If your car is due for service, the Teslas are funny because we'll get a call from an owner and be like, "Hey, my Tesla just called me and said it needs to go in for an update." And so we arrange.
It's at the top of the rack right now.
Yeah, we arrange that for them. And between Matt and I, we have relationships with a lot of these strange. Matt's friends with Marco at TLG, the air-cooled Porsche specialist. And Marco's generally on a huge waiting list, but because of the relationship
he's
he has
actually
with
usually
Matt,
not even taking customers anymore.
a lot of times, right?
It's a permanent
because
waiting
of the relationship
list.
that he has with Matt, and and membership has its privileges, kind of a thing. If our customers with the air-cooled cars, again, to maximize the amount of time they're spending it, I mean, Matt can call in a favor and say, "Look, we can get you in. I'll get your car in 2 weeks." It's that kind of level of service that he tries to create. So we have this,
It's a one-of-a-kind thing.
Yeah,
I think that's why it's hard to describe.
And
he's
on a waiting list right now for the first facility, and he was sold out within months of the spots there. So,
it was weeks. I was there. I remember
so
that was crazy.
That created Matt realizing that level of service, could be expanded a little bit. He found a location near Hawthorne Airport in Gardena. Now the first location was built from the ground up. It's probably the safest, most secure facility in the country, definitely on the West Coast.
Definitely in Southern California.
I mean, there's every car to get in or out of the facility has to go through 2 secured gates. There's 40-something, security cameras. There's redundant fire suppression systems. There's everything that the air is maintained, and if any if there's carbon monoxide that goes through there, there's filtration systems that kick on automatically.
You remember that scene in the Vatican from the movie? It's like that. It's that secure in
there. And so Matt found another facility. He found this building in a little bit of an industrial park that had a lot more space because strange enough, there isn't much parking space at Matt's parking facility.
Well, it's paid parking there. It's
So the idea was just going to be, we have a couple of spaces in the front, drop your car off and pick up the new one and go. So he wanted.
It works out well that way, doesn't it?
It does.
Okay.
So he needed another facility. Found this place, had renovations, plans on gutting it and going from there. Well, the building directly next to it came up. Available, and that one had like offices and a conference room and a lounge and everything already in there. It was a vape factory and it was their corporate offices. So he had negotiated with this person. So now he combined the two into this compound.
Holy cow.
That's at the end of this industrial park, and it's going to be secured and gated. There'll be room for probably 60 something cars. So if we want to do a meet there,
holy cow, this is awesome.
If Good Vibes happens to have an issue with the weather.
Yes, please. When are you open?
We can transport that into there, and we'll be able to do a lot more. The other thing is Matt was limited to in the first location is size. The lifts could accommodate 6,000 pounds, but there was a height requirement, width, and things like that. So the next facility, the lifts are stronger. It's only going to go up one level, but we could fit a Sprinter van. We could fit a lifted truck. We could fit things that normally wouldn't fit at the first facility. Now we have room for that, and so. The detail area will be even more extensive, and we'll be able to do even more with paint correction and ceramic coating and things like that. So, but he wanted to have another facility where he could do more interaction with the customer. Not a social club or anything like that, but we do have customers a lot of times waiting for planes. They'll take conference calls and they'll take their Zoom calls and things like that. So this will have a dedicated facility to be able to do that for a lot.
I love hanging out in the lounge of the other one, like whenever there's a podcast going on, and it's sort of like the green room.
It's kind of a green room, mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean that's he wanted it simple. He didn't want it to be a country club. He didn't want it to be a social club. He wanted to kind of keep it business.
There's 4 chairs in there.
Yeah, that's it. Nice
it's exactly what it's supposed to be.
Simple. And he has his podcast at the first facility. So the second facility will be a little bit more, business related, but, it'll hold, I think, in addition, depending on how we park the cars, I think somewhere in the neighborhood of like almost 180 cars.
Wow, that's awesome.
So between the two facilities and, motorcycles and all kinds of crazy stuff. So
do you, in the vape factory portion, are those offices or is that all being stripped out?
He knocked some of the stuff that we would never use down. There was a couple of things that never, but he didn't have to build.
Speaking of the vape factory over
right.
here.
I mean, he didn't have to build bathrooms. He didn't have to build, so he had to reconfigure the first building because he had all of that designed with an architect to be. That was going to be the building.
But now you don't need to put it in there.
So now that first building is now all storage. There's basic stuff, a small office, a bathroom, and that was it, because all the other administration stuff will go into the main building now and go from there. So that being said, this whole long story was because it's kept getting delayed. And then now that we're at the final hour and we've had rain for the last 12 weeks.
The weather has been shit.
So he had to dig a trench for something to put this secure wall up, and they brought in this fill dirt, and then the dirt got wet. So they had to literally move the wet dirt out and bring in dry dirt. It's you don't think about that kind of stuff, in normal stuff, but poor Matt's had to learn all of these things about permitting and construction and stuff that he's
all over again.
Didn't want to learn, but now he's learned. I mean, you don't have to, who
now he knows how to build a building, and now he knows how to redo a building. Yeah.
So it's going to be
that guy's awesome.
Is.
That's the safest thing to talk to a car person, because he knows his shit.
Oh yeah, he absolutely does. And it was neat because I remember him talking about it, thinking he should do it. Does he, should he go through it? But he had this vision of what he's like, this is what I would want if I was a customer.
And it doesn't exist.
And it didn't exist at the time. And even the few that are out there around the country, I mean, Otto in Phoenix and there's a few down in San Diego. A lot of them are more social related, which is perfectly fine, but that's okay. But there's a time and a place for that, but Matt has a very specific we're here to make sure that you spend the time driving your car, not hanging out with us in our office.
And even if they did the exact same thing, there's nothing like that in Los Angeles. And this is SoCal is the culture hub for automobile in America.
Yeah, I mean to know it's a whole separate podcast to go through what Matt had to go through for the EPA to be able to have actual water to be able to detail your car the right way. And he brought in Larry from Ammo to teach the guys the detailing. We use all the Ammo products, so it's all the best stuff.
Is it the same system at the new place?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Because that was a huge fucking deal.
Oh yeah, he's the only facility in the area that actually uses water to detail the cars. Because he has like these filters that have to be inspected once
he's
a
allowed
year and
to.
all these other things. Yeah, because he does it the proper way. So it's kind of crazy, but like it works. It works, and the customers are all really happy. I think it's neat to talk to all the customers and hear the stories about what they do and how they got to where they are, or hear the stories about the cars they have there. And I mean, he's got Danica Patrick's GoDaddy car there that
the NASCAR
car. He's got
that's a privately owned car, right? That's not Danica's just
so
parking
the
it
story
there.
the story that I was told was that the gentleman that owns it was the crew chief for her team, and when he retired, it was that year, and the team gave him that car as a going away present, so to speak. That was the story I told.
That's awesome.
Told, yeah. So again, I can't confirm that myself. I didn't hear it from the horse's mouth, but that was the story that we were told. So it's kind of cool. But I mean, he gets.
I love going over there just because you get to peek in there and see there's always something mysterious in there, something you're not allowed to take a picture of or talk about.
There's an underground area that there's cars that are very secure.
Yeah. The Batcave?
Yeah, the Batcave.
The fucking lighting in the Batcave. Don't get me started.
Cool. Yeah. So the second facility should be open. It should have been open, earlier. Poor Matt.
Is there a?
He's not going to commit to a specific date. We should be able to start moving like his cars in, and close, personal friends of not customer cars yet, but that's going to free open some space in the main facility because again we're on a waiting list for that one.
Right.
But I'm guessing we'll be fully operational at least to move cars in the first facility by May, and then I'm thinking by June the other area should be remodeled depending on how far we want to go with it.
I understand that you didn't want to, whatever. You were very cautious there. Those are both very soon.
Yeah. Oh,
Those
no,
are
it's
both very
close.
soon.
It's very, very close. It's very close. And I mean, it's still impressive.
Hell of an accomplishment.
Yeah. It's neat to see a friend, be able to take his dream and succeed at that level. I mean, I remember when Matt started, the podcasting, the YouTube videos with the Garage 419s and the Drive Network and things like that. And again, it goes back to here's a network of friends that you've maintained and you kept and you kept your word and you've had this integrity, you've had this bond.
You grow together.
And you grow together, and to see him, like so many of us have been able to do, it's pretty neat.